Hello everyone, very good morning. I am Praveen Mishra, your host, your teacher, your educator for the Current Affairs show. As promised yesterday, that we will be today from 9 a.m. onwards, we'll be starting a particular sessions, a particular classes that will eliminate every kind of tension, stress, disturbances when it comes to the subject of current affairs, right? So keeping up the promise, we are moving or proceeding ahead with the session. So the name is Current Affairs Show. And what is the show all about? What is the classes all about? So technically, that is nothing to be disturbed about. It is nothing to be worried about, as I stated. Here, we will be discussing all of the important events of the day. All of means literally all of. That is suitable or that is on the lines with the UPSC CSE. The pattern, the updated pattern, we are following it. And obviously, we will be discussing all of the things as much as possible. That means as much as depth we can go ahead. Okay. So going ahead with the first topic for the day. The world is in danger. Yes, it is. We are at the verge of the global war that could be the World War III. No doubt in that. The stage is set. After the fall of Syria, after Donald Trump has gained back the throne of president of the US once again, the Russia-Ukraine conflict or the Russia-Ukraine war, basically, it is not ending since last 3 years. Apart from that, the issues going on in the Middle East, specifically with the Israel and Palestine conflict. And apart from that, the economic slowdown or the economic shutdown being faced by majority of the Asian and South Asian countries. So all of these things are nothing but just something which we call it as history repeats itself. History is repeating itself once again as a decade back, what we have seen during the first decades of the 20th century. All of these things were being repeated. All of these things were repeated and it led to the first ever World War. And the very same things were repeated, which led to the Second World War in 1939. And so, once again, history is repeating itself, and we will be the generation. I'm not giving any kind of like bhavishyavari or the future thought, something like that. No, nothing. I'm just being honest with the facts. So, spilling the facts here, we will be the generation who will be witnessing World War III. With our own eyes, right? And if something will be left, then the other generations would come, or else it will be not just the world war, it will be the nuclear war, right? So in that stage, when we are watching about the alliances, the military alliances, Philippines has created another alliance known as Squad. Yes, I'm not dealing with the alliance known as Squad. It is Squad. Created by Philippines along with the member nations, they are Japan, Australia, and US. Yes, it sounds very similar to Quad. When in Quad we have seen there are countries known as Japan, Australia, US, and India. The Quad and Squad differs with just I and S. That is, in Quad we have got I, that is we, that is India. Whereas in Squad, we don't have got the I, we have got the P, that is Philippines. Right? So coming to the point here, Philippines has now invited India to join Squad. And what is this Squad basically focusing on? This Squad is basically focusing on targeting Chinese expansionism or the Chinese expansionist policies in the South China Sea, moving from the South China Sea towards the Bay of Bengal, crossing through the Arabian Ocean and reaching to the Horn of Africa and so on. Right? Well, we know it very well. Chinese intentions are to create up the Silk Route 2.0, that is the Belt and Road Initiative. China wants to create the erstwhile Silk Route once again. And for that sake, China is trying its level best to have that thing once again back into the maps of the globe. Right? So in order to do that, China is absolutely very brutal when it comes to its neighboring states, call it littoral or not non-littoral. Well, even not with the neighboring states, China is also brutal with the other states as well. Following the principles of neoliberalism, China is obviously right now the biggest threat to the globe so far right now. And because of these things, because of these hostile intentions of China, the 9-dash line area, that is the South China Sea area, is absolutely in a mess. and because of which the sovereignty and internal security of the nations such as Taiwan, Philippines, Brunei, and so on, they are always in question. And to tackle that, Philippines has come forward with the group that is known as Squad. So once again, Philippines, US, Australia, and Japan. And now Philippines has invited India along with South Korea to join the Squad grouping, right? Okay. So basically what it is, simply Squad, that is the strategic alliance. And now the theories or the facts with regard to our prelims as well as mains, both of them. So General Romeo as Browner. See, the names of these people are not much important to be remembered. Okay, from the perspective of prelims specifically, it's not like that the names will be called for. Okay, the only thing that is concerned here is the persons in news will be asked only if it is of very broader level. Okay, the questions won't come from this point that who is the Navy chief of that country, Army chief of that country, Air Force chief of that country. No, never. This is not the UPSC level, right? Okay, so the name, though it's given here, but it's not important for you to memorize the name that who is General Romeo as Bronner. Okay, absolutely not important, right? So he is right now as discussing chief of the staff of the Philippines Armed Forces. He highlighted China's illegal, coercive, and disruptive gray zone tactics, okay, including militarized artificial islands, and called for India and South Korea to be included in the alliances. Now, the question here is, what is this gray zone technically known as? So here, the Philippines chief of the staff has stated, right, that China is creating the artificial islands and obviously is also trying to have every type of coercive and every type of pressure into the littoral states of the South China Sea. And for this, Philippines is ready. Never to forget, a couple of years back, using the innocent passage concept of the UNCLOS, China passed something near about 150 to 200 of its ships from the Philippines port waters. A couple of years back, nearly in 2021 ends, or 2022 maybe, right? China was doing this intentionally. It was not action which was done mistakenly, or the passage or the routes of the ships, they were diverted because of the weather or whatsoever unavoidable conditions. No, it was absolutely not like that. What was the reason? China wanted to threaten Philippines with the passage of its around 200 ships from near the waters of Philippines, right? When China was asked, how dare you do that? When China had just one simple answer: I used the United Nations Conventions on the Laws of the Seas, and it provides the countries to pass through the waters of the different countries using the passage of innocence, basically, right? And apart from that, couple of days later, China also used the airtime boundary of Taiwan as nearly 20 to 30 Chinese Air Force planes, that is jets, they were flying through nearly the airs or the airtime boundary of Taiwan. Though Taiwan is an independent nation as Taiwan states, but China declares that Taiwan is an autonomous part of China only. According to the One China policy, China always states that there is a China, there is Tibet, part of China, there is Hong Kong, there is Macau, there is Taiwan as well, part of China, according to the One China policy. But Taiwan always rejects this particular statements given by the Chinese premier as well as the other Chinese government or non-governmental officials, right? So the gray zone tactics, okay, what China is trying to do is creating a gray zone tactic. In general speaking, in layman's term, what we say, everything is fair in love and war. Though a very illogical statement, but yes, a statement given since ages. Everything is fair in love and war, but we can't use such type of statements while writing our answers, right? That's so cheap. So for that, you have got another term here that's known as gray zone. What is the gray zone tactics? win the war at any concept, at any cost, or simply speaking, win the war at every cost, right? So that is what the gray zone tactics they are. So basically understanding here we have got, okay, so as we can see, so the gray zone warfare refers to a form of conflict characterized by the actions that fall below the threshold of the conventional war. That is not allowed. That is not even ethical. Well, ethics and war on the same lines, it's always a big sarcasm, big irony to the mankind, but irony, whatever, it is reality. Okay, so the threshold of the conventional war, but are intended to achieve strategic objectives through ambiguity, deniability, and coercion. That is, come what may. The war is mine, the victory is mine, I want to win. That is what basically in the strategic terms known as gray zone. So particularly in gray zone warfare, adversaries employ tactics such as cyber attacks. As it happened, you might be aware with the name. If I take the name Pegasus, 2 to 3 years back, this name was highlighted globally. It was a robot, not a robot basically. It was a computer bug, a virus, okay, that used to steal data from the devices, call it your mobile phone, your computer, your laptop, your tablet, whatever, and it used to transfer this data to its source. Okay, Pegasus, that is, in Greek mythology, there used to be a horse which was having the ability to fly as it was having the wings, right? So in Greek mythology, this horse was known as Pegasus. And in the year 2021, once again, the world witnessed this Pegasus. But this time it was not a horse, it was a virus, a bug. And Israel was accused of creating this Pegasus. Though, still, 4 years later of Pegasus involvement into the devices of many Chinese, Indian, American, Canadian, French officials. Still, there has been no reports, no findings, and no such particular proceedings as well against Israel on the concept of warfare, on the concept of Pegasus. Right? So the world has forgot, but you shouldn't, as you must write all of these things in your answer sheet, okay, while dealing with any type of such type of questions, okay, that will provide you some extra marks for sure, right? So in the gray zone warfare, adversaries, they employ what? These cyber attacks and economic coercion, that is following the principles of neoliberalism, that is making a country fall in the debt trap. Today we'll be discussing about an event that happened in Zambia. Okay, and Zambia is none other than just simply the victim of the debt trap by China, along with Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bangladesh. Many of the countries, they have fallen in the debt trap of China. And yes, another country in Africa, that is Zambia. We'll be discussing just a couple of minutes later. Right. So cyber attacks, economic coercion, and proxy conflicts. That is not indulging directly into the war, but yes, showing some kind of tension and aggression into the border areas, just using some small group of people, that is a small army, okay, or maybe not even army or militants, okay, to attack on the other nations. That will be known as the proxy conflicts. Okay, so this is what gray zone is. So simply speaking, in conclusion, it blurs the lines between peace and conflict, posing significant challenges to the international security and stability. Once again, to conclude, everything is fair in love and war, but yes, we can't use such type of statements in our answers. Okay, so when you want to use such type of things, just use the name gray zone. Okay, this is what the standard term is. Okay, so the squad alliance, what it is, first of all, it is an informal group. Remember, there is no charter for it, no statute for it yet. Okay, focuses on security in South China Sea, and the current member states, they are Philippines, Japan, Australia, and the United States. Right, when it came into existence in the 2023, okay, during the Shangri-La dialogue. So just make these two things very clear. When was Squad born? It was born in June 2023. To which dialogue? To the dialogue that is known as Shangri-La. Okay. So that's it with this first topic for the day. Moving on to the next one now. Okay, so we have one more point to be added here, sorry, before moving on to the next thing. That is Mischief Reef. Okay, firstly, let's just discuss about the location of the reef that is known as this Mischief Reef. So if you can see here, there is a triangle. Okay, so this Mischief Reef, basically, here it is. It's making up a location. Okay, this is what the Mischief Reef is. Nearly the Spratly Islands. Okay, here we can see it's Philippines. Here it's Vietnam, Cambodia, and so on. And here it's China, right? And here China is trying to create some artificial islands. In fact, there have been reports which states that China has created nearly the Mischief Reef, nearly the Spratly Island, an artificial island, remember. Okay, that is having a runway of nearly 2.7 kilometers of the length. Runway that is of the length 2.7 kilometers. Good enough for all the military and commercial flights to land as well as take off. A 2.7 kilometer runway is a good lengthy runway. That is what China has created. Where? Near the Mischief Reef, here somewhere near these Spratly Islands. Now, what threat it poses? It poses a threat towards the security and sovereignty of the nations in the 9-dash line in the South China Sea, and apart from that, the other areas of the Southeast Asia as well as South Asia. It's concerning for us as well, that is India. Why do you need a runway in an artificially created island? What are your intentions, China? Where are you focusing? Have you gone this much mad in order to have the global supremacy to establish the Silk Route once again, that you even don't determine the consequences what the World War III will give to this whole world? Well, I think that's what happens when hostility enters the neurons of your brains and it impacts the hemisphere of thinking, what you have call it as wisdom, right? So this is what is happening, a runway of nearly 2.7 kilometers or 2.4 kilometers, if I'm not wrong, right? Where near the Mischief Reef, adjoining to the Spratly Islands, okay, and creating a triangle between China, Philippines, and Vietnam. Okay, right, guys? So please remember the locations, they are very important, as many of the times, not many of the times, every time UPSC comes forward with a question, okay, with regard to the locations in news. So here we go. The Mischief Reef, a low tide elevation within the Philippines exclusive economic zone. What it is a flashpoint in the South China Sea, particularly between the Philippines and China. It's a disputed area technically, right? And here we can see a term that is known as EEZ, exclusive economic zone. Okay, what does this exclusive economic zone means to? What does this exclusive economic zone refers basically? So when we talk about just EEZ, okay, simply EEZ when we talk about. Okay, EEZ, that is exclusive economic zone. Let's say, for example, this is India. Okay, so we know our maritime boundary. So maritime boundary from the coastal state, from the last landmass of a country. Okay, let's say this is the last landmass of the country, and from here the waters are starting. So from here to 12 nautical miles, 12 nautical miles as in 1 nautical mile is equals to 1.852 kilometers. Okay, so nearly 23 kilometers is what is the maritime boundary is. But beyond 12 nautical miles, okay, that is from your land base, that is from your land mass to nearly 200 nautical miles. Okay, 200 nautical miles as in 200 into 1.852, it will be 370.4 kilometers. It is known as EEZ, that is exclusive economic zone. Remember, your boundary ends at the 12 nautical miles. The boundary ends here, right? But beyond the 12 nautical miles, that is 182 nautical miles more. Okay, sorry, 188 nautical miles more. What we have? Exclusive economic zone. Exclusive economic zone means what? Every country will be having the right. The right of what? Right of exploration. Exploration of what? Exploration of resources. Whether living resources or call it non-living resources. Okay. The countries, they do also have got the right to create artificial islands. Yes, the countries can do that. So this is what China has used. And through which convention? In 1982, a convention was signed known as UNCLOS, United Nations Convention on the Laws of the Seas. UNCLOS, remember guys, United Nations Conventions on the Laws of the Seas, right? 1982. This provides us the authority, okay, up to 200 nautical miles to go ahead with the right of exploration of resources, whether living or non-living. Okay, and along with the exploration or the exploitation of mineral resources, countries can also create artificial island. So China has used the 1982 convention to create the artificial island where? Near these Spratly Islands into the Mischief Reefs. Not just one location. China has created multiple artificial islands into the South China Sea, nearly the 9-dash line. Right? So, yes, this is what China's threat is. Sad, but true. We must admit it. We must. China is growing terribly. Brilliantly and terribly. And this is good news for China, but not for others, specifically adversaries of China. And make no mistake, we are one of the adversaries of China. India and China used to be friends. Hindi, Chini, bhai bhai used to be bhai bhai. Not anymore. We got the enmity during the time period of 1960s, and we indulged in the full-fledged war 1962. And a surprising fact, since the New World Order, China has been involved in only one international war, that is against us. And yes, sad but true, China won that war. So technically speaking, once again, China is right now leading the globe when it comes to the war. China is undefeated so far, as China has been indulged in just one war that lasted not much time, okay, but it was technically a war, and China has won that as well. Though with not big margin, no doubt in that. Once again, make no mistake, China won it without not much big margin. Yes, the battle was stiff. Indian Army, Indian forces, they provided a strong retaliation and they provided befitting reply to the Chinese forces, no doubt in that. But ultimately, the ball was into the court of China. And yes, China won it. So here, talking about China is so far technically undefeated globally when it comes to the rankings in the war. And right now, China is hostile. So just, last year, what has happened? Talking about China's growth potential. This is the data given by the international organizations. Not just China. This is the data that is justified by the organizations like World Bank, IMF, and so on, ADB and AIIB, all of those nations, all of those financial organizations, they have justified the data. What the data says that in the previous financial cycle, right, China's net import and net export. Net import was nearly $2.6 trillion. Whereas net export was $3.6 trillion. So a net profit of $1 trillion. Its economy of tens of nations of this globe. What China has earned in just the previous one financial cycle, 1 trillion USD. This is not so good news. Yes, for China, it is the question. It is the event of pride, but not for the adversaries. And once again, make no mistake, we are the adversary, right? So this is what is happening. This is what we need to understand, right? So considering more facts about the Mischief Reef. So here we go. Mischief Reef, it's known as the part of the dangerous ground in the 9-dashed line. When you talk about the dangerous ground, it will be the Mischief Reef. It is also known as with multiple names like Meiji Reef. And apart from that, another name that is Panganiban Reef. Okay, so dangerous ground, Meiji and Panganiban. All of these three names are related to which one? That is the Mischief Reef. And apart from that, this reef is occupied and controlled by China presently. It was occupied by China in 1996. So make it clear, okay? It was occupied by China in the year 1996. And since then, it is part of China only, right? It is not part of Philippines anymore or Taiwan anymore. Okay, it is part of China only presently. In 2016, a summit was held by the United Nations in which United Nations asked China to give back the Mischief Reef to the Philippines. But in fact, China denied this to United Nations. Think about the stronghold China possesses. China can deny the judgments of United Nations, right? If any other country would have done that, it would have gone into the well of embargoes or the other type of sanctions, right? So this is what has happened, and this is it with the first topic. Now moving on to the next one. Here we go. Environmental catastrophe in Zambia after acid leak at Chinese operated copper mine. China would be having too much of hiccups today, right? Since last 30-40 minutes, we are discussing China only. But what we can do? It's China who is always wondering to be in the news, into the limelight, right? So here we go again. In Zambia, when we talk about why is Zambia here in news? Firstly, look about the location of Zambia. This is Zambia, a landlocked nation in South Africa, the continent of South Africa, right? Why is China doing here? What China is doing here? Why is China here? Obviously, China is a business-related capitalist country now. Though communist in nature, as written in the papers, but I state it always. China is communist only on papers. China is a capitalist state. A big capitalist state, right? So, a capitalist state, what is that capitalist state doing in a landlocked country? Could be something good here, right? And yes, when it comes to copper, Zambia is in the top 10 list of the global copper producers. Yes, top 10 copper producers. Zambia holds the rank of 4 or 5 something, right? So Zambia is a hub of copper exploration, and that's why a capitalist, on paper communist state like China is here. Okay, so now talking about the news, what has happened. On 18th February, an incident happened when a dam storing acidic waste from a copper mine in northern Zambia collapsed. And there is a river. Please, guys, make it very clear on your notes. Okay, if you're making it, I'm sure if you are. Okay, there is a river known as Kafu River. And where is Kafu River? Kafu River is in Zambia. And what has happened in Kafu River? A particular dam, okay, storing acidic waste, it got exploded, and all of that acidic waste fell into the Kafu River. Zambia's 20 million of the population relies heavily on the waters of the Kafu River. Okay, not just for agriculture, for the drinking waters as well. And now this Kafu River is heavily polluted because of the acidic waste. They've called it as an accident. I think it's not. Well, why I think so? Zambia owns $4 billion. Yes, you heard it correct. $4 billion of debt to China. It failed to do so in the year 2020, right? And China, once again, with all of the hostile intentions, once again, that thing, that gray zone, right, could do anything for victory, has got no ethics, no morality, nothing. Yes, that's China. And they could have done that intentionally. Not a big deal. Literally not a big deal. Just to make the Zambian government learn a lesson that they owe $4 billion to China. Because when this happened, China was relaxed. When Zambian authorities approached Chinese officials, they were like, okay, let me see, we'll be coming and doing that and doing that. So, right? They were too relaxed. And yesterday only the news came that even after a month, more than a month, around 35 days, no such actions have been taken by the Chinese officials. No such investigations have been also conducted to investigate why such spilling has been done. Right? So they call it an accident. Dear China, to hell with dear China. I don't think so. It's an accident. Right? So United Nations, as always, a mute spectator will have nothing to state here. Right? So China dominates Zambia's copper mining sector, as Zambia is among the top 10 copper producers globally. And apart from that, is heavily indebted to China, $4 billion, which it failed, that is defaulted in 2020. And the next thing, Chinese-owned mines in Zambia have been criticized for poor environmental and safety standards. Hamara thodi hai. It's not mine. I will go there, I will extract the copper and come back to my country. I'll make Beijing the hub of the growth and development. What I do have to do with the people of Zambia? I just want copper. This is what Chinese intentions they are here, right? Okay, so next big thing into the picture here. Well, the human DNA is structured in a way, not all human DNA, but majority human DNAs, 9 out of 10. They are structured in a way that we do fear with reptiles. Many of you would have got uncomfortable. Sir, what is this? Why is this green, dangerous looking, full with horns lizard doing on the screen? Well, it's part of the current affairs, right? So don't worry. So this dangerous green looking lizard, well, think about, you are in a dense forest. No, don't worry, I'm not trying to, make you frightened. Just letting you know the species, okay? How vital they are, how dangerous they are as well. Think about, you are in a dense forest with all greenery, green grasses, green leaves, trees and everything, bushes and everything. Will you be able to identify this thing? It's known as iguana. Very dangerous? No. What's the bright thing here? Why it's not dangerous? Because this iguana, though being a lizard, is absolutely herbivorous. Yeah, you heard that correct. A lizard. Dangerous looking lizard. Well, you have heard this statement, right? Never judge a book by its cover. Kim Jong is an example. Yeah, looks very cute and sweet, but the actions, they speaks that there is something way beyond humanity, what Kim has got inheritance. So this is what iguana is, right? Iguana, what is the concept? Green, dangerous looking, not just green, it's all in multicolors. We can find iguana, it's always not green. We can encounter iguana in brown color as well, in some blackish brown color as well, in almost some reddish color as well. Okay, so this is a part of a species of iguana. But all of the iguanas, they do look dangerous, but they are very much herbivorous. Not very much, absolutely herbivorous. Okay, shakahari hai bhai. They are all herbivorous, guys. Nothing to worry about. So yes, the structuring of the DNA it is that troubles us when we see such type of reptiles. But yeah, nothing to worry about if you encounter. Okay, and if you want to encounter, don't worry. Though they are the natives of America or the Caribbean, but they can also be found in the Pacific Islands, the South Pacific regions. So voyage of iguana, how they traveled from America to Fiji. Researchers are very much disturbed. Okay, see here, for decades, the native iguanas of Fiji and Tonga have presented an evolutionary mystery. Every other living iguana species dwells in the Americas from southwestern US to Caribbean and parts of the South America. So, how could a handful of reptilian transplant have ended up on 2 islands in the South Pacific? Big question, right? No. It was not a big question. It was a big question until the scientists, they have discovered something that is known as rafting. So this particular paragraph I have added just for one lesson to be learned. Just let's read this paragraph first, what it is written here. So in research published on Monday this week, in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, Simon G. Scarpetta, an evolutionary biologist at the University of San Francisco, etc., etc. See, you need not remember, recall, memorize these things. As I stated a couple of minutes back when we were discussing about the Romeo Browner of Philippines, right? We need not remember the names until and unless these names have become quite big globally, right? Okay. So here it is, the concept again, that a report was published. A report was published. Okay. The name of the report is important. What is the name of the report? Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. Okay. This is not the report actually. Sorry. This is the name of the organization. Okay. So National Academy of Sciences. That's it. This is what is important. Not very much important as well. Okay, but yes, we have witnessed in the UPSC prelims that such type of questions they have been asked about the organization publishing the reports. Right? Okay. So not the name that who is Simon G. Scarpetta or whatsoever, which university, which college, nothing like that. Okay. So technically speaking, okay, yeah, honestly speaking, frankly, you can just eliminate such type of things from reading. Okay, you have read? Very good. If you haven't, no problem. Okay, just don't worry that you have forgot the name, where was this report published, who published the report, who was the scientist, and so on, right? Until unless it becomes quite big, it's not very much important, right? So, rafting, as I was talking about. What is rafting? Yes, surfing is there, rafting is also there. Surfing you might have seen or you might have done as well. Okay, it's part of the water sports. There is also something known as rafting. What happens? The animals, reptiles or whatsoever, vertebrates, invertebrates, they do just grab the tree logs. Okay, could be any type of such type of particular material that floats on the surface of the sea or the ocean. And they do sit on it, and that particular element or that particular material, it floats from one area to another. And when the animal kingdom, when anyone from the animal kingdom does that voyage or the traveling from one corner to the another corner, that is known as rafting. That is not known as traveling. When it is done by the humans, basically, it is known as traveling. But when it is done by animals, okay, marine or not marine, okay, that is known as rafting. Okay, so what the term rafting, the term scientists use for hitching a ride across oceans on uprooted trees, okay, or tangles of plants has long been recognized as a way for small creatures to reach islands, right, from one island to another island. So if it is done by humans, it is traveling. It is done by animals, it is traveling, right? So what we have got here. So, but this is generally seen among invertebrates. Remember the word, generally, not mandatorily. Okay, so majority of the rafting is done by invertebrates whose small size means they can survive a long way. And in an uprooted tree trunk, right? Among vertebrates, lizards and snakes. And iguanas, what they are? Lizards. They seem to be able to raft farther than mammals. Why? Because their metabolism is quite less, which provides them some good amount of time for the rafting, right? Okay, so remember guys, what is the concept? Invertebrates, okay, and when we talk about vertebrates, it will be the lizards and the snakes, okay. Why? Because of their less metabolism, right? So moving on to the next point here, iguanas, they are large herbivorous lizards, right, belonging to the family of Iguanidae. They are primarily found in the tropical regions. Tropical regions of what? Tropical regions of Central as well as South America, the Caribbean, and the parts of the Pacific. Okay, so the locations, what they are? Locations, they are Caribbean, Pacific, and America. Okay, the tropical areas. That tropical areas, that is the areas that fall between Tropic of Cancer to Tropic of Capricorn, right? So native to the Americas, including Mexico, Central and South, and the Caribbean, they can also be found in the islands of Fiji and Tonga. Okay. Next, Annual Mobile Broadband Index Report, MBIT. What is this? So what is the name? Mobile Broadband Index Report, MBIT. Why is this report here? This report is surprising, and this report is also very much enthusiastic for the Indian mobile phone users, right? First thing that we need to understand about this report is given not by any government, not by any international financial or non-financial organization. It is given by a private company, right? What private company do you think it would be? It is not Reliance. It is not even Apple. It is not even Samsung. It's not even any of the groups of Elon Musk or Zuckerberg. It's a company which was once upon a time ruling the market of the mobile phones. Yes, if you have guessed it as Nokia, you are absolutely correct, right? So the Nokia provides the MBIT, that is Mobile Broadband Index Report. And what this report has stated, this report has stated a very wonderful data. Nokia reports 3x surge in pan-India 5G traffic. The 5G users, they have tripled in last 1 year, right? 1 year, just one single year, 5G users have been tripled. Right. So Nokia unveiled the findings of its annual mobile broadband index, revealing a remarkable threefold year-on-year surge in 5G data traffic across India in 2024. Right. So yes, this is something that will be improving the standard of life, the quality of life, the availability and accessibility of the digital platforms, and so on. Right. And once again, it is the matter to be joy of, to be having the joy of. As yesterday we were discussing about the World Happiness Report, and we have seen that yes, how India is standing on the level of 118 out of 147 countries. Right. That was actually heartbreaking. And now the breathtaking thing. What is that? That yes, our internet users, 5G internet users, they are enhancing into a 3x speed. That means somewhere around the corner, the Human Development Index concept is also onto the platform of being stability, right? On the platform of being stable, basically, right? So next thing, what is Sea Dragon 2025? The anti-submarine warfare training India joined. As you can see here, the group of Indian Army soldier, Indian Air Force soldiers, okay, who are, what is actually Sea Dragon? Sea Dragon 2025. So here we go. The Indian Navy on Thursday concluded a 2-week training session on anti-submarine warfare. In short, we call it as ASW. Okay, and this comes as India has been working to boost its maritime security and defense capabilities. The multinational ASW called Sea Dragon 2025. It was hosted by, yes, United States of America, its Navy's 7th Fleet. And what the statement further goes ahead. It's not just an exercise for the Navy, but also it helps foster military cooperation with key allies. India-America strategic relationship. Before proceeding further with the topic that is Sea Dragon, let's just first discuss about what's happening into the realm of international relations. What international relations is telling us, okay? Something big is happening as we were discussing while discussing the first topic of the day. America was once upon a time, or till the dawn of the 20th century, or 20th century basically, was having a big tilt towards Pakistan. But what we have seen, India has shown immense quantity and quality of growth when it comes to the physical infrastructure and when it comes to the international stages, the international forums and the platforms. India has created a separate image. Yes, I'm not saying that we are Vishwaguru. Yes, I'm not saying we are Vishwamitra. We will become. Though it's a far ahead thing. It could take decades and decades for India to become the Vishwaguru. Once again, we were once upon a time Vishwaguru, no doubt in that. But as of now, the Vishwa, that is world, it has changed tremendously. And all thanks to the colonial loot and the corrupt politics, India couldn't gain the very much required seat when it comes to the international forums that India deserved. But yes, nevertheless, it's better late than never. India is now improving. When it comes to Prime Minister Modi, along with his External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, well, though I'm not trying to praise any party or any individual, I'm just trying to praise what is reality. The team of the two people, when we talk about PM Modi and S. Jaishankar, they have performed exceptionally well when it comes to the case of creating international relations. See, I'm not dealing with any type of biasness or I'm not trying to praise things. Okay, I'm just praising the fact. Okay, so in last 10 decades, what we have witnessed, India has gained a significant image. Okay, when it comes to the states of America, Australia, Canada, France, African nations, Southeast Asian nations, with regard to the enhancement of the Look East policy towards the Act East policy. And apart from that, Sagar and Mahasagar, that is security and growth for all in the region, and Indian Ocean region, when we talk about the Indo-Pacific policies of India, it's on the same lines of Australia, Japan, America, and so on. And apart from that, India is also playing a very active, vital, and pivotal role to counter China and to balance the issues into the Southeast Asia. When it comes to the SAARC, as we will be having the meeting next month only in Bangkok. And apart from that, when it comes to the ASEAN group, it comes to ASEAN Plus. India is one of the major players, though not part of ASEAN, but a major player. And when it comes to the international financial organizations, or as well as the other organizations as well, talking about G20, India has hosted G20 last year. Yes, being a host doesn't mean that you're performing well, but yes, when we talk about G20, India is a front runner these days, being the 5th largest economy. When we have thrashed England from the position of 5 in the year 2022, India provided an answer to the whole globe. That is, the growth and development could be slow. But make no mistake, once again, with a population of 1.4 billion, the growth and development would be slow when it is also impacted hugely with the negative role of the politics as well as the corruption. Okay, but still, after all of these issues, India is performing well. Okay, though, yes, it will take time, but performance is on a well-staged platform, a stable platform. So internationally, okay, we are performing quite well. And this is what right now America has learned, that in order to tackle Russia and China, America's biggest asset will be India. And to surprise, from 2016 to 2020, America has signed multiple strategic deals with India. Like, for example, BECA, Basics Exchange and Cooperation Agreement. COMCASA, Communication Compatibility and Security Agreement. And apart from that, LIMO, Logistics Exchange Memorandum of Agreement. All of these agreements, they are signed between India and America. Right? These are all strategic alliances, strategic deals, where we are sharing the geospatial data, the maritime security data sharing, yes, with America, and America is sharing the data with India. Okay, America knows it very well that India is the closest ally of Russia, and Russia is the biggest adversary of America. And now this triangle is forcing America to come towards India. Right? As America knows it very well. In case tomorrow, if there is a full-fledged war, Russia and China will be in the same team. And India could be America's defense for it. Though India will never stop Russia or China that no, don't go attack on Donald Trump, he is my friend. Never like that. But yes, India could play a role in order when it comes to have the pacification or any type of the stability of peace or the restability of the peace, right, for America. So this is why BECA, COMCASA, and LIMO types of agreements, they are signed between India and America, which for a decade back used to be a dreamboat, right? So here, what is the logic? The Sea Dragon coming back. Okay. An exercise hosted by America, and America has invited India as well to join a naval exercise known as Sea Dragon, right? So along with Philippines, who is inviting India to join Squad, America has invited India to join the military naval exercise known as the Sea Dragon, right? So here we go. The Sea Dragon exercise is a multinational anti-submarine warfare drill conducted, first of all, annually, right, to strengthen maritime security and cooperation amongst allied nations in the Indo-Pacific region. Okay, so here we go. Hosted by US, where at the Air Force Base in Guam. Where? Guam Island. Now, why is this Guam Island so much important? The Guam Island is so much important because, let's say, this is Guam, and just adjoining the other side of Guam, there is a country known as North Korea. So it's an island owned by the USA, United States of America. It's near to what? It's near to North Korea. Okay, and there a military naval exercise has been conducted by America along with India that is known as Sea Dragon. Naam bhi dragon rakha hai. Okay. So, which countries participate in the this anti-warfare submarine? Okay. So originally it was a bilateral naval drill between US and Australia. Okay, started in 2019. It expanded to include key allies, including India, which joined in 2021. So remember, guys, Sea Dragon, for the first time, it happened in 2019 between two partner states, that is America and Australia. And in the year 2021, that is the third event of Sea Dragon, was also joined by India. So India officially joined in the year 2021. But it was not just India. Okay, this year, Okay, it was also joined by Australia, Japan. Australia is obviously the partner. So it was along with India, it was Japan, South Korea as well. Right. So now this is something now threatening for China. And that is why the name Sea Dragon as well. Okay guys, so I think this is all with regard to the today's topic of the current affairs show, and as I promised, we will be trying to go ahead in as much as depth we can, and from tomorrow onwards we'll be also discussing about the related questions, the previous year's questions as well, and the mock questions as well, that is the MCQs. Right, and also I will be providing you some of the mains related questions. Answer writing practice will be also done. Okay, so I'll be providing you the Telegram as well as the Instagram link tomorrow. Okay, so that you can share all of your answers with me. Okay, and guys, please, one thing I would like to just add in here. Let's have a two-way communication. Let's create a relationship that will last till your success at least. Right, and what is your success? The tag of IS, IPS, IFS, IRS, or whatever you want along with your name, with your name, the suffix with your name, right? So we will have to walk hand in hand. We'll have to be on the same pages. I will be creating all of these stuff for you, but in return, what do you have to do? You have to solve the questions. Okay, so the solving of the MCQs won't take much time. We'll be doing that as we'll be doing those things in the classes only, but the concept of answer writing. Okay, if you want to excel in the answer writing thing, please stay tuned, stay connected, and do it on a daily basis. Perpetuity is the key to success, and what you need is perpetuity. Without perpetuity, nothing will be achieved, right? So stay in a disciplined way. Okay, stay balanced, perform all of the tasks given to you daily. Today, because of the first day, I'm not giving you any type of questions. Let's have the cooling period. Okay, let's have the freezing time over. Okay, but it's over today only. From tomorrow onwards, we will be discussing about the MCQs, the PYQs of the related topics, as well as I'll be giving you the questions as well, for which answers to be submitted on the very same day, or take a day as well, wherever you want. I'll be sharing you my Instagram as well as my Telegram IDs. Okay, there you can connect with me. Okay guys, so I hope everything is clear. If there is any doubt into the chat box, please do let me know if there is anything. No? Okay guys, so that's it from my side today. Thank you so much for joining me in here. Please do provide your valuable feedback in the comment box, and please don't forget to like the video, and we'll be meeting in the very next session today, and tomorrow morning 9 a.m. live will be again with regard to the current affairs show. Okay guys, thank you so much for joining. Bye bye, take care, see you soon, Jai Hind.